Bobcat fans, welcome back to Peru State Sports Network. My name is Chaz Dunn, and this week we've got a few things for you. A member of the 1990 football championship team is with us. We got a volleyball highlight, and we got more. So stay tuned and enjoy.
I'm here with Matt Hugg, former Peru State alumni, former Peru State football champion in 1990. Matt, just kind of explain to me how you got to Peru to begin with in that process.
So I went to school here in Auburn, Nebraska. Didn't have a lot of offers coming out of school. Knew I wanted to keep playing football when I got done. That was basically the only sport that I was any good at in high school. Peru was close, but never thought about going to Peru. It was too close. Didn't want to be that close to home. Wanted to get away. Had a wild idea. I was going to go to Oklahoma and walk on in Oklahoma, be a Sooner. But Coach Shea, who was the coach at Peru at that time, came to our school one day and basically said, "Hey, I heard you want to, leave and go to school somewhere else." And said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you're not doing that. You're going to Peru." So basically, that was the recruiting trip and the recruiting line. And signed and went to Peru. Not knowing what was going into, but just the opportunity to keep playing football. So that's how that ended up. Wasn't a big 5-star recruiting day, put the hat on, and back in the 90s, you just kind of went your separate ways and figured out what you were going to do, or didn't know what you were going to do when you left high school. So that was the extent of going to Peru.
Did they give you a walk-on opportunity or a scholarship, or how did that?
Got a $500 scholarship, which covered a lot of tuition. School was a little cheaper back then, so.
To that 1990 state championship or national championship year, just explain to me that season and all that work put into there.
Well, leading up to that, the year before we made the playoffs, we got beat in the playoffs by Baker. So we had a lot of guys coming back. We basically had a lot of local kids that went to Peru. Whether it was Southeast Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. And then we had a lot of kids from outside the state, whether it be New Jersey, Florida, Louisiana. Had a lot of guys coming back at that time, so we had a lot of optimism that we could still compete at a high level and make a run for the championship. And it was nobody would play us our junior year. Basically, we beat everybody so bad our sophomore year by 60, 70 points, and nobody wanted to play us. So our first game, we took a bus to Carroll, Montana. I think it took us like 3 days to get out there, 3 or 4 days to get out there. Stopping along the way, different places to practice. So that season was just, a lot of long bus trips. Dominated essentially everybody on our schedule. We played Northwest Missouri State at that time. They were Division II. Peru being NAI, we tied them. So that was really the only blemish on our record, or anybody that even really came close to playing with us. So. It was fun watching. I played defense. It was fun watching our offense just keep chucking up the points, throwing the ball all over the place. Nate Bradley, Scott Gertis, who's a local kid here, Corey Catterson, some of those guys and guys from Florida. So it was fun watching it. It was fun being involved with it. Other than the long bus trips all over the country that we had to do to compete with teams.
And then is there one moment from that championship season or even the championship game that you remember that sticks out?
Probably the one that sticks out, it wasn't even the championship game. It was Wisconsin lacrosse. They came down the first round of the playoffs, or came down to Peru, and they were like the team to beat. I mean, it's like they matched up Peru and Wisconsin. I think they were trying to get us out of it, not have us advance. But they came down and they looked like a Division I football team when they walked on the field. They had some guys that were just monsters. But we basically shut them up and beat that team, and from then on it was just like it was going to happen. It was just a matter we just got to play 3 more games and we'll be done. So that was one of the bigger games and one of the huge games at Peru. The Oak Bowl was just full of people all over the place supporting Peru State.
And then explain the impact the community had back then on the football team.
Yep. Back then it was, people from Auburn, people from Johnson. We had people, from Auburn High School, Johnson High School. that played at Peru. So you had a lot of people that were following from Auburn and this local area, basically. And just the following that we had, people going to games, people supporting us. Peru State was, everybody was rallying behind Peru at that time, and a huge support. You think 1,500 people at a football game is not a lot of people, but at Peru at that time, that was like a packed house. So there was a lot of support, a lot of community members that stood up, came and supported and supported players that, like, individually as like Peru parents, and would do things for us. So just kind of like checking to see how you were doing. Not so much me because I lived here, but people from out of state or around this area that gave them somewhere to, hey, if you need a meal or need help with laundry, whatever it is, people were helping out and supporting.
That's good. That's good. And then I know the facilities have upgraded a ton since you've been there. Just describe how that has helped the football program.
Well, definitely, it's all about more development now than it was then. We had a weight room that was half the size of a basketball court, where we all squeezed in. It was not sanitary. There was things growing down there that I'm surprised none of us got caught or got a disease from. But now just the money, there's so much more now for schools and the aid they're getting. Although the Oak Bowl, how it was, I wouldn't have changed a thing. That was the greatest. It's still the greatest place to play, but it was so small, and just the setting you can't replace. Which they've retained a lot of that since they've done the upgrades and the field turf and the field house and everything. But yeah, we didn't have much back then. It was pretty low budget, which a lot of schools were back then as well. But we made the best of it. We didn't know any better, so it wasn't, or know any different, so it wasn't a big thing for us.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day to do the interview, and this is a former national champion we have right here, so thank you.
You bet. Go Bobcats.
This has been Peru State Sports Network. I'm Chaz Dunn. Thank you.